Hi, BookTube. Welcome to Jackie's Literary Corner. I am Jackie, and it's a new month. It's the last month of the year, December. And I don't know what books I'm gonna read. I don't have a TBR. I was trying to wait until the beginning of the new month and everything, and as always, I look at my shelf and I think about all the books I want to read, all the books I've put on hold, all the books that I've started and put down and was like, I need to get to those and finish them. So I'm feeling very overwhelmed and just stressed out deciding what I want to read. I mean, I like the idea of making TBRs, but then after a while, it just feels like very stressful. So again, I'm going to try not to make a TBR. It's tempting to make one while watching other people give their TBRs. Maybe the solution is to not watch people's TBR videos, but then they're fun to watch. It's fun to see what people are going to read during the month. So, I don't know. But currently, let's talk about what I'm currently reading. Cannot grip it. I'm currently reading Little Women. I started this last Christmas, so it's been a year since I picked it up again. It's kind of I feel like because it starts on Christmas Day, a lot of people feel like it's a very much a Christmas read, and it does have a very wholesome, sentimental message that's good for if you want to get into the Christmas spirit of love and kindness and giving to others. And it is a lot of strong moral messages, and and it definitely, and it's one of those life lessons, episodic type stories. Although when I'm reading it, I've noticed one thing that kind of bugs me, and maybe it's just because the adaptations I've seen two. I mean, I would like to see the one that, so I think her channel name's E.K. Emmons. She is a writer, and she gives people writing advice and explains how to do things and all that. And she did a video comparing the 2019 version of Little Women, a scene from there compared to the version of the scene in, I think it was a 2018 BBC adaptation. And talking about which one she prefers, which one she thinks does a better job of portraying the scene and all that. And I have not seen that version, so I couldn't really compare. But I was curious about watching it, watching the video and see what she has to say and everything, and hear her, her thoughts on it. But anyway, every time I watch like that, and even in that one, from what I saw, the little bit I saw in all the adaptations, the characters are a lot older. The only one who's potentially young, really young, like a child or just out of her childhood years, is Amy. But the rest of the characters are played by young adult women, adult women pretending to be portraying teenagers. So maybe that's why I feel this way. But when I'm reading it and just seeing, there's a scene where Laurie, he kind of does, he plays pranks and stuff, and he goes a little too far on the prank on the girls, and he's told, okay, we don't want to tell your grandfather because it's not your secret to tell, and you don't want to embarrass my girls and everything. So the grandfather's like, oh, I know you've been up to mischief, and kind of lectures him on telling him, and Laurie keeps his promise and gives him a hard time and stuff, and he gets in trouble, and he goes to his room pouting and is like, I kept my word, I didn't tell, and now I'm gonna get in trouble, so I'm gonna run away if my grandfather is mean to me. And that just seems so like something more like a 12-year-old would say. And I thought Laurie was late teens. And I don't know, maybe because maybe people are more mature nowadays, or maybe because he's played by a much older actor in the adaptations. But the girls and Laurie seem a lot more immature in this book. And I mean, maybe it's also because this ended up being a book for young girls to read and not an adult. Not technically, the target audience isn't adults. but you can read this and enjoy it and appreciate it as an adult. But it's just, the characters seem very juvenile. They don't, and I thought they were older. I mean, granted, I have a lot of immature moments too. Even still, I'm in my 30s now. But I don't know. I mean, I've never been like, I'm gonna run away from home because you aren't being nice to me. And, feeling like you should have trusted me and all that. Like, I might, I don't know. It just seems really childish, Laurie's reaction. He's supposed to be in his late teens, I thought. Or maybe, maybe mid-teens. I mean, I think he's older than Meg, and I think Meg is the oldest of the girls. So, yeah, so that kind of surprised me. It's just some of their, and maybe because the target audience is younger readers, I don't know, but it just, the characters seem a little more juvenile than I expected. And that's another thing I was like, I keep forgetting that they're teenagers, but then again, maybe in the time period, they, like, maybe modern teenagers are a little bit more mature than teenagers of the 1800s. I don't know, it just kind of bugged me. I mean, but that's just a little thing. I don't know, the book is great. I very much enjoyed it. Of course, I also don't mind a sentimental story, then I don't mind the episodic nature of it or the life lessons aspect of it. And it's Christmas time. I mean, this is probably the one, the best time of year for me to read something like this. I mean, maybe even springtime could work too. But definitely, I'm in the mood for a story like this. But yeah, that's the only thing that was kind of weird for me, because, and like I said, maybe it could also be that the actors that play the characters in adaptations are older than the characters in real life. I don't know. That just kind of bugs me. Like, Laurie is but then girls do mature faster than boys. And Laurie is kind of immature to begin with, and he and Jo play around and stuff, but I don't know, it just doesn't seem like they never come off as when they're playing around and running around. It doesn't come off as that childish to me. But then, of course, girls were raised differently and needed to act like ladies, and Jo does not act like what is considered ladylike behavior. So, I don't know. Maybe I'm being unfair to this, but like I said, that doesn't mean, like I said, I love the book. I'm just being a little nitpicky. But so I'm currently reading, this is one of the books that Rory Gilmore was to have read. That's a question I would love to ask Alexis Bledel, who plays Rory. I mean, I know she's talked about some of the books, and I can't remember which book, but there was one book that she wanted Jess to read, and Jess asked her to make the deal with her that if he reads this book, then she will read I think it was Hemingway. And, as she wasn't a big fan of Hemingway. So, I'm curious, I don't remember if she ever liked it or not. I don't remember which episode it was in, but, anyway, so I don't remember what book that was, but one of my questions I would love to ask the actress who played her, Alexis Bledel, if she's read any of the books on Rory Gilmore reading list, and which books would be Rory's favorites. Because I know her hard is to pick just one favorite, so I say favorites, plural, instead of singular. I just want to know what Rory's thoughts are on all of the books that she's read. I mean, some of them have really surprised me. And, some of them, like, I think as far as fantasy goes, she's not a big fantasy reader from what I can tell from that list. And with the exception of Lord of the Rings, which she read the whole thing, all parts, like any of the books that are fantasy series, it feels like I don't know if she reads the whole series or not. I mean, like I said, does the list that when it mentions Song of Ice and Fire series, Song of Ice and Fire, it just says Song of Ice and Fire, which is the name of the series, so maybe she did read the whole series. But she just seems like, that it would be more like she would read fantasy just to, say that, as an experiment or as to try it out and see if it's her thing. But anyway, maybe I'm not giving the character enough credit, but I would be curious to then talk to Alexis Bledel about Rory Gilmore's reading list. But yeah, this is one of the books on there that she's read. She probably read it when you're the target age, because I am not the target age of this book. But it doesn't make it a bad book, and I definitely think, like I said, I think you could appreciate it even as an adult, and maybe even look at it from a different perspective if you're reading it as an adult. But I am almost done part 2 of the story. I have 2 more chapters to go. In part 1, I would like to try and again read it by the end of December, which is why I started it towards the end of November, like after Thanksgiving, just to see if I could actually get it read by the end of December. Not that I want to rush it, but ideally, I would love to have it read before Christmas, or at least after Christmas, or at least before the end of the month. I mean, it's not a hard read. It's just a long one. That's the problem. It's long. You can read a lot of chapters, but it's still good. It still might take me personally a while to read it, especially if I'm not 100% focused on it. So really, that's the only main one. I did start reading the Jefferson biography I have it over on the floor, but I'm being lazy. Don't want to reach and grab it. But Jefferson A Life by Willard. I'm gonna have to grab it because I can't see the rest of the guy's name. So this one, Willard Stern Randall, this biography, I did write a little cue card that says questions that I would like answered, what I would like to learn from this biography, questions I have. I think that's going to be one of my methods I'm going to do for note taking, is just think about the questions I would love to have answered in books like this. I don't know if I can apply it to every book I read, like fantasy books. I don't know if I could really apply that method, but fantasy is also not something I'm struggling with or anything. It's just the only problem I'm having with fantasy right now is a lot of the bigger epic fantasies are super long, and I'm procrastinating them. And then there's all these things. So with that, it's more about taking notes of important stuff for the plot, so that I'll remember it. And that's more about series. Also, like, there's a lot of, like something like Wheel of Time or Stormlight Archives, writing down little notes of important pieces of information and things that I think might be relevant in the future. I want to get started to doing that. So the note taking will be a little different with that one. But I think I want to use index cards. That way I have a good amount of space. I can just write small for my note taking. Because, like, I've tried to do, I always say I want to do, like, the sticky notes and the little tabs and everything. But I forget to do it. And then I'm thinking, well, I don't know if I want to have a bunch of tabs in my books. Or how do I tab? What do I tab? All that kind of stuff. So I think it would just be work better for me to do like all my index cards that I have, because I have a bunch of them now. I have a lot of them. Also, I did want to read the last book before the end of the year. The last book in the trilogy, the Lycanus trilogy, The Light That Falls. Which, yeah, it's funny. It references the Wheel of Time. It says, love the Wheel of Time. This is about to become your new favorite series. Although it's not a series, it's a trilogy, technically. Although the author has just recently written another book, The Will of the Many. But I don't know if it's part of the same world. Or, like a new series. Maybe this is this world, I don't know. But, The Will of the Many, and I think either the second book is coming out or he's working on the second book. But I want to get this series done. So, this trilogy finished. So that, because this is the last book and I don't want to delay it anymore. I have a bad habit of, with series or trilogies, I've gotten better, because that was my goal the last 2 years. Last 2 or 3 years, it's been my goal to improve that and not to put off books like this and just get the series read and finished. And this is a trilogy, so I don't, as I said last time, when I talked about that, I don't have an excuse with trilogies. except for I get distracted or sidetracked. So I feel like I need to get to this in December. Which, as far as, you know, the Talisman, I think looking at the size, I might, instead of doing it every 2 months, instead of that one being 2 months, as that one feels like one of the longer ones, make it 3 months. Because I was looking and thinking, oh, it's not as long as like The Stand or, you know, It or something, but it's actually a chunky, it's a 700 pages kind of book, almost 800. So I think 3 months is probably the goal, but I'm not gonna, you know, and like I like having, you know, structure and a plan and stuff like that. So, you know, I want to try to stick to the 3-month goal. Like if it's something like Dead Zone, which doesn't look that looks less about half of the Talisman, then I think that one I could get away with 2 months. But because I started with the Talisman, I feel like I need to make it 3 months. I do feel like I do finally want to get to read some Russian because I've done seasonal, like, videos about books I think would be great for certain seasons, and I feel like Russian literature is great for the winter season, and I have not picked a Russian book, any of my Russian literature, in the wintertime the last few years. So I actually need to change that and do that and pick a Russian book to read in the wintertime. So, I mean, I know I don't have to do that. Like, there's no, like, I'm not obligated to it, but I do want to, but I actually want to keep my word and, you know, I want to follow through with that and actually read a Russian book in the wintertime. So I am thinking of coming back to Brothers Karamazov and reading that one in the wintertime. This winter, maybe starting that either in December or January. And then I did make some progress on Demon Copperhead, which I kind of already talked about in my last video. So there's that. Like, I tried to set up a plan for myself, be like, cover all the genres, all the book categories, and I end up getting more than one. I mean, I guess what I could do is pick out 2 and do 2 separate piles, and then, but I don't know, I do like having a plan, but I'm just not good with, because I have so many choices, so it feels overwhelming. It feels like I'm just not good with the narrowing down of the choices, making the decisions. Also, okay, so, a channel, Jen Jelinski, I don't know if I am saying her channel name right. Let me see. Oh, Jen Jelinkova, Jelinkova. I don't know if I'm saying. I need to hear her say it again. I need to watch her video again. But she was originally formerly known as Jen from Insert Literary Pun, and she had been, not making videos lately because she had been busy, and so finally she appeared a week ago, and had said that she was gonna explain why she had disappeared and why she hadn't uploaded in a while. And then she did a video, and she was going to upload at the beginning of December, and I just watched her video. It was a deep dive on a Russian classic, The Unbearable Lightness of Being, which sounded like a very intriguing read. But she did, and that reminded me of something, the fact that I have been wanting to reread Noli Me Tangere by Jose Rizal. I read it in the beginning, I think it was the beginning, was it the beginning of this year or in the previous year? I have to I have to go back and check. But I want to say it was the beginning of 2024. But I don't know, it's been so long that I don't remember. But it reminded me that I wanted to do a reread. And I liked her reviewing style and how I felt like she knew what she was talking about. She understood the text and everything, and she did a really strong deep dive. So I guess maybe it technically wasn't a review per se. I called it a review in my comment. But I guess it's not really a review. I should edit it, but I don't know if she's seen my seen my comment yet, but so it might be too late to edit it. But I mean, she might, she might not correct me, or maybe she will correct me. I don't know, but it doesn't matter. It reminded me, like I said, I want to reread that book, and what I want to do this time is, now that I have context for what was going on at the time in history in the Philippines, I want to kind of give, in my review, kind of explain a little bit of history and talk about, and so that I can, as it relates to the story, I feel like give some background, because I feel like I didn't know what to make of the story at the time. I mean, it was a very simple story, a very simple plot, and I did enjoy it, but I felt like I didn't do a good job reviewing it. And I feel like I could do better with that review and make it a more thoughtful review, and make it a more, like, really talk about it and look at and also, now that I've read a history of the Philippines, I have more background. But I want to do that, and then and I think, like, originally my plan was to read Lola's House as the next book, but I think I'm gonna save that for February. I think I'm gonna make that a February read, and I feel like, because February is the month of Valentine's Day and everything, I figure, something like that, a book, about the love of, like, Lola's love and all that, like, which is grandmother in Tagalog. And, the strong, it feels like a good February read. I don't know if it makes any sense, but it's basically about the older women that have survived World War II, and what they are, how they are coping now, years later. And I think I don't know if it's nonfiction or not. I can't tell. I have to, like, reread the description again and see if it's a nonfiction story or not. But yeah, so I'm gonna save that for February and start my reread of Noli Me Tangere, Touch Me Not. And actually, I'm hoping there's quite a few books on my I put some other books on my list, both on my Thrift Books list, which is only I see that list, and then I put them on Amazon, on my Amazon wish list. So it'll be, so hopefully I'll get them at some point, a couple more to add. But it's really the only ones I have so far: Lola's House, and there's Tree, and My Brother the Executioner from Rosales. I think that's what it's called. It's that series. I'm drawing a blank on names. The series by oh, it's the name I can't. Solnil. It's the one that I don't know. I still don't know how to say his name, but anyway, the Saga Rosales saga. I think I'm saying that right. And those are the next two books in that series, and I got them in one book. So I want to read. So I have that one as well. Like I said, I'm hoping to get some other ones for Christmas. But anyway. So I don't know what I'm gonna, like, I'm looking. I still gotta get back to what's it? Blackwater as well. I'm gonna get back to that one as well. And that one's a longer work, so it's taking me a while, and then I'm only reading it sometimes because it's on my, on my Kindle. My physical books are often my priority. Like, I get conflicted because I want to read it for, when I travel, but then there might be a physical book of mine that I want to bring with me, like when we're just running errands. Like yesterday we went on some errands and I'm trying to decide between, do I want to just throw my Kindle in there, which would not be as heavy, as big, or a physical book. And I was also thinking it won't matter because sometimes I don't always get 2 books because of like some I'm just I'm kind of tired from walking around all day, or like I just don't feel like reading while I'm sitting in the car because things are not that far away. And then, of course, leaving our neighborhood, there's a bunch of trees and shade, so it kind of like there's a shadow on my screen or on the book I'm reading. So sometimes I don't always read in the car. It's not, and like I said, it's not because I'm sick. It's just because, I just don't feel like it, or the light is messing me up or something. So I don't know what I'm gonna do for my TBR. At least I'm just at the moment I'm just gonna focus on Little Women and dip in and out of like the Jefferson biography, the Demon Copperhead. I do feel like I need to get to the light of all that falls before the end of the year so that I can finish that trilogy. And then maybe I'll I enjoyed it, but I'm thinking of donating it to Givens as a fantasy. Giving them a fantasy. Because I feel like they lack in fantasy books. But I'm hoping to expand their fantasy collection, their fantasy shelves. Anyway, and also it would be kind of nice to see ones that on there at that bookshop that aren't just mass market. So I don't know. I don't know what I'm gonna do about my TBR, but we will see. I think I don't know. I might just not do TBRs anymore. I mean, I said that last year, and I still, couldn't help myself. But I don't know. Like I said, this year I want to try to focus more on reading projects instead of reading goals. For like my goals would be my reading projects. Like I said, I want to, read some of the books on the Rory Gilmore reading list that I actually own, and I want to read some. Want to get through, be more active in my Stephen King project because I've decided to start over with that one, and read some more Asian literature. I feel like I don't read enough, and particularly a focus on the Philippines, because I feel like you got literature from all the other Asian continent, countries, but I feel like there's not enough people that talk about the Philippines. And that is still my goal, to get people talking about the Philippines and reading books, Filipino literature. And also, I want to, the biggest one will also be reading books that, to me, feel intimidating and challenging. Books that are, like, because of the writing style, or the books are super long, and I keep procrastinating it because they will take me a long time to read, or, books that, I mean, really, most of the time it's because of length and the writing style that can be very overwhelming. And that's another project I want to focus on, reading one of those each month. And then, of course, I want to cover all my genre bases each month. And I think I'm not going to worry about classics. I'm not going to worry about making sure I read a classic each month, because I'm just going to, try to get myself to automatically do it. Read a classic each month. But, we will see. But anyway, I think the basis for not really doing a TBR, just just seeing where I go from here, and kind of in a different kind of plan. Put it that way. So that's how my TBR plans are going at the moment. Do you guys set TBRs? Do you have a TBR? Do you read Christmas books around this time of year? I'm not. I rather just watch Christmas movies than read Christmas books. I mean, maybe wintry books might be an option I might consider, but I'm not one of those people who reads like Christmas romances or anything like that. I just prefer to watch Hallmark movies, even if they're really cheesy and sometimes really stupid. And some of the things, like there's one channel on Instagram that basically does these videos where if a rational person existed in this type of world, basically one of them, you know, he does if a rational person was in a Disney Channel original movie, or like in this, you know, I'm talking Hallmark movies. If there was a rational person in a Hallmark movie, and like there are so many staples to Hallmark movies, so many tropes, and it's just really funny. I don't remember his name, or I would, you know, if you're interested, I would give it to you, but I don't remember the channel name. But I want to know, but do you guys read Christmas books? I'm like I said, I'd rather just watch Christmas movies than Christmas books, because then, you know, my logic is I don't want to, you know, read books that I only read during Christmas time, and then they are just sitting there, and that's the only time I'll read them, you know. I mean, granted, I have thought about for a second of getting some Christmas books via Kindle, because at least that won't physically take up space. But still, I never had a desire to actually read Christmas books. Maybe wintry books, but that's it. But yeah, I would love to know, do you read, do you struggle with TBRs, or maybe you don't even do TBRs, maybe you just read whatever you want, and don't really plan it? I would love to know that. And if you do have a TBR, I wouldn't mind hearing what it is. I would love to hear what that is, what you are currently reading at the moment. And if you guys like this video, please give it a thumbs up, click subscribe if you haven't, and click the bell icon below if you want to be notified about my latest videos. And I will talk to y'all later. Alright, bye!